Good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Slay, and I'm here to talk a little bit about what's going on in week 9 today in Reading 370. You should be seeing the screen that for this particular module, and what you will notice is that we are back to the writing workshop book, which is this one, and last week I assigned chapters 5 and 6, which are not bad. Chapter 6 is really pretty short. We're now looking at different forms of instruction. So the first one has to do with whole group instruction and how you manage that in chapter 5. And I think a lot of it starts to talk about lesson planning. So that's where we're headed in the rest of this semester, and all various different aspects of instruction and preparing lessons for writing instruction will be the main focus. So what I want you to do is, it's chapter 5, setting a positive tone and building enthusiasm. It talks a lot about mini lessons. Pay attention closely to mini lessons because that's one of the things that you will be preparing. Tells you how to build one. If you have the videos, access to that because you have the digital book, that would be something really good to look at. It talks about the 4 different types of teaching and there's a mini lesson checklist, etc. It talks a lot about using mentor text. Now, those of you who were in Reading 350 may have heard more about mentor text. I think that we have a unit that we use that we create for that in Reading 350. So it'll be a little bit familiar, and now you get to see it in action. You'll be developing that as part of your mini lesson using a mentor text. And then you go into chapter 6, which is all about independent writing time. So if you recall, writing workshop is a cycle. You have a very short time with students together at the beginning, and then you have a large work cycle. And that's when students are writing independently. Perhaps you are having writing conferences with small groups of students, and it talks about doing that during this independent time. So this is really going to give you a good sense of what writing workshop is about and how to start managing it. Next week, then we'll start talking about writing conferences in a different way, although you're already getting started, and I'm trying to model different forms of writing conferences for you guys. So chapters 5 and 6 in the book is where you need to be. I assigned those last week. Your job is to actually do something with the reading or finish it up this week if you didn't get to it. So I'm not introducing a lot of new content in terms of other tasks. You have 2 main tasks that you're going to be working on. One is the blog post, and that's going to involve you conferring with your small group that you had during the guided reading groups, and then doing some responses to chapters 5 and 6, and then of course continue with the dyslexia training. So let's start up here. So let's look at our due dates. It tells you right here, Tuesday, October 22nd, and I believe that was, are we Tuesday or Wednesday today? Sometimes, yep, it's Wednesday. So yesterday, the peer responses for your comprehension discussion was closed. Then this Friday, as you will have read when I posted this on Monday, you're going to now really go deep into the blog post. And this one, let's open it up and see what it says. The topic of your blog post is reading motivation, and I provide you with a variety of resources. So your first job is to build some background knowledge about reading motivation. There's a video. Donna Lynn Miller is someone that I actually used to work with. She became famous. I did not. But she wrote a book called The Book Whisperer, and then she's written numerous blog posts, but she was the kind of teacher that believed very deeply in independent reading. And she felt like, and she witnessed that if you could increase motivation by giving children time and opportunity to read independently about things that mattered to them, her classroom was amazing. She had the long wall in her classroom was completely filled with books that were very well organized. And she had the gift of being able to walk around the room. If she noticed somebody wasn't reading, she wouldn't be upset. She'd simply offer them more choices. And she really got to know her students. So her children never had any reason not to read because she would always put something different at their fingertips. And she'd put stacks of books and say, okay, you don't like that one? Let's read this one. But she's also famous for the 40 books a year challenge. And so you might want to look that up and read that sometime. But anyway, she's going to talk a little bit about her concept of reading motivation. I think it's called Choice, Empowerment, and Respect for Kids. And then you're going to read a couple of articles about reading motivation. They're not too bad. They're from Reading Rocket, so they're really very interesting. Anything there is very teacher friendly. So I hope you'll find all of that information very useful. Then I'm going to have you go do something a little unique. This time I am telling you, I want you to go use AI or maybe ChatGPT. You might have a different AI generator, and that's cool, whatever one you want to use. And I want you to keep digging a little bit more into reading motivation and look at what does reading motivation look like for grades first, third, or fifth. Um, just drill down and find out what they tell you. I venture to say they're going to give you a list of categories of things that they believe um, facilitate reading motivation. One of them might be learning centers. One of them might be choice. One of them might be, oh gosh, thematic teaching. There's just a lot of different things that could be ways to get kids to read, because the fact is the more that children read, the more interested they become in the reading. The trick is you got to get books in their hands that they can read. So this presumes that you are teaching the fundamentals of reading, like phonics and phonemic awareness, depending on the grade level. But once you're past third grade, you just need to build their fluency and build their background knowledge about topics. The best way to do that is to get them to read independently and have that as being a part of your routines and in your classroom. But that said, you have so much more to accomplish in your class besides reading all day, as lovely as that would be. So I want you to think about what that's going to look like in your classroom. So use ChatGPT or AI to help you find out what the experts are saying about what reading motivation looks like at a particular grade level. And you can pick your grade level. Even though you're going to be working in peer conferences according to the way you were grouped early on when you did your last project, you still can pick your own grade level. Make this useful for you and what you think you might want to be teaching. Okay, so for example, as I say, if creating learning centers is one aspect of increasing reading motivation, then by designing these learning centers, perhaps for a group of study is what you want to start to explore more deeply, because you're going to use that information to write a procedural paper. So this is a genre. You wrote a poem in your first blog post. This is going to be what you might be familiar with as being a how-to paper. It's a procedural paper. You're going to have a little introduction to say why you're doing it. So at any rate, you're going to write what you've learned. So you're going to pick a particular grade level to respond to this prompt. What is reading motivation and why is it important? What does it look like for maybe grades 1 or 2, 3 or 4, or 5 or 6? And you're going to write a very specific blog post. Maybe it's a form of a recipe, but as you know, when you look online, recipes, it's very hard to just find the recipe. You have to have a little background information to describe why this recipe is important, to get people interested in reading about your formula, your routine, your advice to other teachers, because that's going to be your audience. I tell you right here, your audience for this blog post is teachers, or it could be parents for the chosen grade level. Now, granted, parents are not going to be doing learning centers in their home, but at least the idea of that you would be talking to them about reading motivation and what that looks like. Maybe you're writing parents a letter so that they understand what your classroom looks like and why you do the things that you do. So you do have to have an audience in mind. That's what all good writing has, some form of an audience. How long is it? It's about 350 to 500 words. 350 is about a page long. So you can double that depending on your writing style. And what's your genre? Okay, so your genre is the how-to, kind of like a recipe or a procedure, or maybe you just prefer to do narrative style. That's more like a descriptive essay, but maybe you're going to have steps in your descriptive essay. You're going to have sections. Do pay attention to the fact that this is going to have to follow a certain set of rules that pertain to your genre. Um, Feel free to explore and look and see how do other people write how-to papers. Make it something that your audience would find very interesting to read. Easy and accessible, yet interesting and useful. It's got to be useful information for a particular context. You want to include pictures, images, or you could include figures, which are considered to be like charts and numbers and graphs and things like that, if that's what you prefer, or maybe you use both. But remember here, it says within the context of your post. I noticed on some of the blogs from the last time we did our blog posts, people just added them at the end, like here, I posted my pictures, but they didn't really support what was going on. They just were added because it was said, add pictures. That's not what I mean. Pictures serve a purpose. They're not decoration. They're meant to support the idea. So if you're going to prescribe what a learning center looks like or what a particular element of your classroom looks like or where your teacher desk is or the design of your classroom, it needs to go where you're talking about those particular things. That's all part of formatting your paper, formatting your blog post, which is very, very important. And you will teach that same thing to your students. But you're doing, instead of me giving you the mentor text, you're finding your own mentor text. Go out there and find out what does it look like in with the way that other people are doing these things and use those ideas. Just give them credit. I don't think I put that in there. I should add that you do want to give credit to the resources you use to write this blog post. That's only fair. So you'll have, that'll be your very last piece that you have. Maybe you're going to call it references. Okay. Now, I'll make that more clear for you. Include a reference list. All right. So how are you going to do this? This is the part. So you've built background knowledge. Now you've written a draft. Okay. You just write the draft just to get your ideas on paper. And that's the draft that is due on Friday. You're going to put it in a Google Doc that you're going to share with your group members. So let me model something for you right now. We're going to look at using Google Docs. I want to make sure that yes, you are seeing what I need to see. Don't you love that screensaver? It's one of my favorites. Okay, so I'm going to open my drive and I'm going to go to new and I'm going to say new Google Doc. And I'm going to maybe call this, give it a title. I'm going to call it Dr. Slay's blog post 2 or whatever it is. Maybe you want to call it Learning Centers for Reading Motivation, something, but you do need, I would put your name here and I would put the title of your paper up here. Okay, you won't need this necessarily. You can close that out. And then you will start to type your paper. And it goes on and on and on and on. So the next thing is that once you have your first, in fact, you know what? Let me back up. So I just showed you how to do the title, but this is a Google Doc right here. So I'm not sure why that says W. I must have added it inadvertently. I'm going to model in this doc because it's got content for us to use. Let me show you how to share. This is extremely important, so I do hope you're paying attention. You're going to click on share. And what's going to open is your email address will be the first person, okay? Whichever one you choose to use. If you use your TMUC to Google, that's great. If you use a personal Google, that's cool too. But now you're going to click where here. You're going to drop down and it's going to say restricted or anyone with a link. Absolutely make sure it says anyone with a link. Let me go back and show that again. Anyone with a link. Now, you can leave it here as commenter. It can be viewer, commenter, or editor. Editor means somebody else can write on your paper. I'm not asking anyone to edit your paper. I'm not asking anyone to write on your paper or to help you write this or do anything with it. I am asking that they comment, and I'm going to be looking for those comments. So this is what going to be part of your grade is to be able to show how you have been involved in this peer editing process. Now, I asked you to do it in the Google Docs because you're adults. Number two, I know you're busy, and so you can do this in your own time. So the faster you get this posted, the faster you are able to get somebody to give you feedback. I recommend that you ask for feedback by a certain date, and I'll show you where you can start to mark all of this to help give each other some guidelines to help each other get this done on time. I'm giving you the general deadlines. You work within your 4 people that are in your group. Okay. So we talked about your peer conferencing. So you've got a Google Doc and I've showed you how you share. This is how, so it should show up anyone with a link and commenter, and then you say copy link. Okay. Then you're going to say done, and you can't see it, but the link is going to be copied. And then the next thing then that you're going to do, let me just show you what that looks like. So let's say you want to make a comment. You're going to go up into the doc and see where this is where all the comments are going to show up. And it looks like someone actually tried to make some comments on here, which is great. If you want to ask questions about this document, please do. This person also deleted it. But what you end up doing is you can see our toolbar is all the way up here. You see this little speech bubble type of thing with a cross. You're going to click on that, but you have to highlight something. So let's say you want to highlight first, build background knowledge. You click up here and you write your thought here. I think all writers should build background knowledge to make their writing credible. Now that's just my comment. So then I'm going to say comment. But if you had a question for the person or you would have a suggestion, I might say like here, I have right here, I'd say, which AI generator did you use? Okay. Whoops. And then you say comment. So you can read, you can see who it is that's doing the commenting, etc. And it shows you where that comment is related to. So that's how I expect you to interact with each other. Okay. I'm not asking you to talk to each other personally, face to face or whatever. We'll probably do that for the third blog. Okay. So now you'll use your small team group to peer conference. You're going to write your document in Google Docs. We just talked about that. You'll leave the comments along the side. That's your feedback. And I give you some suggestions. And so when you're working with students, you also want to give them some ways that you have to build the language and teach them how to interact with each other. So I've given you 3 things in each section. You'll always want to give positive feedback first. The first one is, we call it a plus. So something that you liked about the paper, maybe it's a thought and you can show exactly right, and because you can highlight that area and show where it is. So what I liked about your paper, what really struck me, what I found most interesting, whatever it is. So let's say you're going to say right here, you're going to say Delta. I like that this does not say wrong or bad, rather it says change. Delta means change. I think it's a Greek word. Okay, so this is where then you would offer advice for revision. So then you're going to also highlight areas where you say something you want to know more about. Maybe you want to draw the writer out. You want them to say something else or something you are interested in and you just need more information. Can you help me understand what you mean by this? Maybe something was confusing. You highlight that section, say, I need some more clarification on this. Or when you revise, my advice is this. Now, sometimes you just have a global statement, so you can add it towards the top, but you'd have to highlight in order to leave a comment. Okay, so these comments can be resolved. They can go away simply by clicking on the arrow, or you can click on the dots and you can delete it. You can do other various different things with those particular comments. If you want to see them all again, or if maybe you're the author and somebody got rid of all those comments, all you have to do is click here and they all show up. Okay, so that's how that's what I want you to do, is to give each other some feedback. Notice I didn't give you like give 25 comments or 5 comments. I want this to be an authentic process that helps each other grow. One of the comments that came out quite a bit in the last time we did our blogs was that you didn't have enough time or opportunity to get feedback. You didn't feel like that process was very useful. So I'm hoping you will have more time this way to in your own time, in the way that you're all of you operate, because we're using Google Docs to be able to give each other some feedback. So you've got to get it written and posted, because the feedback is, so that's Friday. And I show you what that sharing setting should look like. Then by Tuesday, all your peer responses should be there. So your first draft needs to be posted in place for your peers to be able to read over Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, because you need to then have all your comments in place by Tuesday. So, and everybody, you're going to be responding to 3 different pieces of writing. You wrote one, but you're going to respond to the other 3 people in your group. And then Friday, November 1, you're going to, which is next Friday, so you have another week yet. So at this point, this is a 2-week process, if not more. And this is at this point, I want you to go ahead and post your final blog, and you're going to post the link. Okay. And then you're going to, so here it says, feel free to write questions or comments about this assignment, just as somebody started to do here, and I'll check it to see if anybody has questions. A lot of times your notifications will go to your own Google account when you, so you can see, oh, somebody's writing on my document or whatever it is. So let me back this up just a second. That's the assignment that you're going to be doing. It gives you all the details, but I do want to show you where you're going to post some of these things and what I've created. So let me make sure I have done this right. Oh, that's old. Okay, let's get back to week 9. Here we go. So you'll see the timeline that I just gave you. Here's the link to the assignment itself. Here's your small group work. Okay. Small group work was just like last time. You have your groups that were created when you were working on your group presentations for guided reading. So whichever group you were in is your group. Now I didn't post your group. I just sent that link to all of the groups. You will probably just see the one that you're a part of. You're going to click on that group and you're going, oh, it looks like somebody already did. Let's go back and see that. Let's see what's going on. Early readers may have already gotten started. Nice. So they're going to actually post their link. So you should have to highlight. I'm looking forward to working together in this group. Okay. So let's just back up. Remember how I told you that you copy the link? All you have to do is, let's say I do something like this. Let's see if I'm going to start a new thread. And I'm going to say Dr. Slays, or you're going to put your name. Google Draft blog post 2. Make it clear so people know what they're looking at. And if you put your name in there, it makes it really easy to see who you're talking to and say, here's my link. I look forward to your feedback. Okay. And so that should open up the document when you go there. And there we go. Well, that was a document that we just drew the link from. So I will delete this afterward. Actually, I'm going to cancel it. So because I don't want to mess up your group work, but that was to model how you're going to post that there. So what's the next thing I want you to recognize? So that's where you're going to post your link. You're going to do the work in the Google Doc, and then you're going to actually, I don't think I posted where you submit the final one, but it does exist. Let me see. I may put it here. Blog post 2, yep, the one that is due November 1. Let's try that. Let's see if it'll pop up. I'm not sure why it's not coming through here. That one's there, blog post 2, it should be. It shows that it's an assignment. Let me refresh something. Sometimes things get a little bit timed out. So let's try it one more time. Blog post 2. Oh, okay, that's what it should be. So here you'll see that when you click on blog post 2, it tells you the various different parts and the due dates. It repeats a lot of things that I had in the assignment, and you will actually click on the assignment and you're going to post the link to your blog. Okay, you're going to post the link to your blog and response to some reflection questions, and those are in here. Post a reflection, so you're going to put your link and describe your peer conferencing experience, what you learned about yourself as a writer, and your takeaway, etc., about reading motivation that you'll apply to your teacher life coming up. I want this to be useful. Okay, so that's the blogging assignment. I hope you enjoy the process, and I can't wait to read what you wrote or you're going to write. And then here's chapter 5. And in chapter 5, I ask you to describe your experiences with mini lessons, either as a student or an observer. I ask you to talk about a takeaway and questions that bubble up about this. You have peer responses, initial questions, and then something very similar based on this chapter for chapter 6. Describe what you would like your classroom to look like and sound like during independent writing time. Oh, maybe there's a correlation between something that you're learning and this. I don't know. We'll see if there's any relationship between these other, like your blog posts, and what you're going to do with independent writing time. And I want you to include a quote that sums up your thinking from the chapter. Maybe you start with a quote. Maybe you want to talk about the quote. And then finally, you have the dyslexia training. So let me talk about this just briefly. A couple of people said they couldn't get into the link. I have posted this a couple of different ways, and I realized that the very, very first one was last year's link, so it was dead. It wasn't working. So the correct link has 2425 on it. Okay. Second thing is there is an announcement that has the correct link, but this should work because I just checked it a few minutes ago. So the first thing you're going to do is go to TEA Dyslexia, and it takes you to the website. And then you should be able to move forward and do everything you need to do right here. If for whatever reason that does not work, what you're going to do is highlight. Oops, let me get the whole thing. You're going to highlight this link. You're going to copy it, and then you'll open it by putting it into your browser and see if that works. And that should take you exactly. It takes you right there. What I found is that if somebody was having trouble with that link, the way that I had included it in D2L wasn't working because it just wouldn't link. But it's all in the way that they've configured the redesign of D2L. So I apologize for that confusion. These two things should work. You shouldn't have any trouble. I'm trying to get back to the page that we were working on. because I think I'm about done. That's everything I wanted to talk about. Looking ahead, I didn't write it down, but we're going to be moving into various components of lesson planning. We're going to be looking at assessment. There's a little bitty assessment project coming up after after you finish with your blog post 2. Enjoy the reading, enjoy the writing, and talking with each other. I look forward to reading your work. Have a lovely evening. You know where to find me should you have any questions. Ciao for now.